And we're live! Back on Is It That Bad? The Comic Core. Of course, Phantasm 2. It's a movie that has been talked about and discussed. It's a movie that we've been blackmailing my new co-host with for a while to try to get him on this show. Seawood, how you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing great. I started vacation this weekend. This is the most beer I've drank for any type of review, YouTube video, what have you. It's only 3, but hey, that's more than a lot lately. But yeah, I'm really excited to talk about Phantasm 2. I'm ready to defend this movie from all the haters out there who don't like the fact that this isn't an independent movie. It was sponsored by Universal, but you don't see it on all the streaming services. But we're going to talk about all that stuff tonight. But you know what else makes me happy is this chat here. We got Carlito Classico coming into the defense of Phantasm. He says, this movie rocks. And I did post this on Instagram as well previously. And a couple people already over there have said, this is not a bad movie. And I completely agree. I love this movie. We're going to talk more about it, obviously. Mark PK are conspicuous by his absence there, and he's been replaced. We'll get to that in a second, too. He says this was indeed a mind melter. And we got Ricky, Mark's that plug in the Discord. What's going on, Ricky? And last but not least, we've got Chris Barrett says he is now the Hunt Tag Team Champion. So
there you go.
There you go. Congrats, Chris Barrett. So tell me about what's going on with Mark here. What has happened to Mark?
Okay. So we got done watching Phantasm 2, and Mark wasn't feeling too well. So he's been replaced, as you can see, by my flasher gremlin here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if it's a little inappropriate for some eyes, you know. I intentionally did not wear something with a lot of cleavage. Just, you know, people get upset over that. But yeah, all I'm saying is I pinched a nerve a couple days ago, and I'm still here for Phantasm 2. All right, so everyone wants to ask, like, why? It's like Phantasm 2 isn't that bad. You know, it's not a bad movie. Is it that bad? I will tell you, we don't necessarily say that movies are bad. We're here. We have fun. We talk about some good, bad movies. And that's what this is to me. So, Carson, I love Phantasm, but I know you're like the king of Phantasm. So let's talk about your tall man here for a second.
Yeah. So when I was like just a kid, I was probably like 4 years old or so, 5 years old, just starting to form memories. And one of my earliest memories of a movie theater or anything having to do with movies, period, is this movie poster right here. So I don't know, like, if we're going to see or the 89 Batman. Like I said, I don't remember the movie we were going to see, but the one thing I remember from this trip to the movie theater was seeing this movie poster at the theater when I was a kid and kind of being struck by it. You know, it's the freaking tall man. These people look scared. I didn't know what I was seeing. So for whatever reason, this poster had always just stuck with me. And my dad was a big Phantasm fan. He loved the original. And of course, he ended up, I think he rented this on VHS. My whole family watched it when I was probably like 5 years old. So I have had memories of this movie as long as I've had memories. So it's always been a special movie to me, I guess. But, you know, I always enjoy getting a chance to watch it any chance I get. I'm glad we're here to defend the honor of Phantasm 2 because conspicuous by its absence on almost every streaming service. Like, you could probably go right now on justwatch.com, search for Phantasm 1, find somewhere to watch that. And then 3, 4, and then Ravager 5. I think you can find them all on streaming services, whether it be Shudder or any other service that has the rights that particular month. Phantasm 2 is the most wishy-washy in terms of, can you find it? Is it available? Where can I watch this movie? Luckily, I just happen to have my Scream Factory, Shout Factory edition here. Very awesome Blu-ray edition. I was actually watching some of the special features before I hopped on here. But, Kat, my first question I wanted to ask you before we even talk about the movie, how in the world did you watch this?
All right. So I can get on into how I first got exposed to Phantasm and everything. But the way I watched it today was with my Phantasm collection, the Blu-ray collection. So this is the actual one that it came out. It has all the Phantasm movies in it. It's the complete collection. And I got this after I, like, literally, I'd say maybe 2 weeks after I had gotten the DVD collection or something online or on Amazon at the time. But the reason why I kind of lost my shit and had to get this was because of this bad boy. So this beautiful monstrosity, this is the Sphere collection. It has all the Blu-rays and everything. I do know they're doing a re-release of this. It's on pre-order on several sites. So I would highly suggest you pre-order it instead of overpaying for a lot of like flippers and everything. I was able to get mine for less than $100. So I was really, really pumped about that at the time. And so how I first got into Phantasm, I wasn't raised with horror or anything violent like that. My mom wouldn't allow it in the house. But I got really into Shudder right before when we were gearing up for like C2E2 a while back. So I was working on the cosplays for both myself and Mark, and Mark's just, it took over. But it was literally, that was about the same time that I realized, oh, Joe Bob Briggs has his last drive-in on Shudder, and he had I think it was a Joe Bob Briggs Bloody Christmas or Really Red Christmas or something like that. But it was a Phantasm marathon. And like you said, it was Phantasm 1, 3, 4, and then Ravager. And I thought that was the craziest thing ever. I was like, wait a minute. What? Where's 2? And he talks about 2 and why he refuses to really stream it or promote that movie. And that's all because the Hemi-Cuda. So, Carson, I know that's something we have to talk about on this, because that's one of the big things. The people who I know that love this movie or love the other movies and don't love this one, it's because of the car in this. So
yeah, classic Hemi-Cuda muscle car. I mean, just it's almost like a character unto itself. That one,
it really
like
is.
Ghostbusters has the Ecto-1, Phantasm has the Hemi-Cuda. Like, come on. The only thing Ghostbusters didn't do, though, they didn't blow up the freaking Ecto-1. So, but I will say this about what we're talking about, Joe Bob. Say what you will about Joe Bob, but he is very consistent in his opinions. I remember watching in the late 90s the TNT Monster Vision marathon when he had the rights to all the Phantasms at the time. I can't remember if 4 was out quite yet. If he did Oblivion, I feel like it was just 1, 2, and 3. But he got a chance to review part 2 on TNT, and he was still very butthurt about the Hemi-Cuda getting blown up in this movie. It was absolutely hilarious.
I have to smile at the chat. Chris Barrett always making fun of the way I say horror. Always. He also says that you can watch Phantasm 2 on Prime. Is that with your? Is that with your? Oh, so it's not with your membership.
Yeah, you still have to pay for it.
So you got to rent it. We were talking about somewhere where it was included on one of the streaming services.
Well, at least there's an option out there digitally.
But I mean, shall we discuss Phantasm 2?
Oh yeah.
So Carson, you have the floor.
All right. So Phantasm 2, I think the biggest noticeable difference between 1 and 2 is that Universal Studios budget. So I was reading a little bit about online on the Internet Movie Database, and one of the interesting things they noted is I think there was a $3 million budget poured into this movie, which is by far the most of Phantasm movies ever had. Like, by the time you get to 5, it's pretty much just a fan film quality at that point. But the first one, I to this day, I respect the first one the most, I think, because it's just some friends like on the weekends filming a movie, and they make it work really well. So it works so well that Universal looked at it like, hey, maybe we can take this property and make some money on it. So they decided to make Phantasm 2, And the big weird thing is when they made Phantasm 2, they wanted to recast the whole cast from Phantasm 1. So I kind of always compare this Evil Dead 1 and 2, kind of like, they did over in that franchise. Like Evil Dead 2 is a pretty similar everything to Evil Dead 1, except it's a little bit goofier, funnier, production value is a little bit higher. But this time they wanted to recast both Michael and Reggie. So Coscarelli's like, Don Coscarelli, the director, he's just like, no, those are my boys. Like, those are my best friends. They helped me make the first one. I need they're Phantasm, for God's sakes. I need those guys in this movie. And after like hours and days and weeks of arguing with the studio who was funding his movie, they came to the agreement. They have to auditions, but you can keep one of the two. So ultimately, end up keeping Reggie Bannister as Reggie because that's who Reggie is. So, well, what did you think of this movie, Kat?
So for me, I mean, it starts off, and it kind of starts off where the first one picks up and everything. They've just kind of come to terms with the tall man and, the like crazy. I don't even know what we should call them. Should we call them monks? Should we call them hooded gremlin, demon midgets? Any number of things in the spheres and all that. And they've just started to come to terms with that. And Reggie and Mike, they're going to go on a road trip together, and just to get away from everything. And that ends up kind of being a huge kerfluffle in the house and everything. Blew up our first house right here.
Yep. And
then we have a flash forward into, I don't know how many years it's been, because little Mikey grew up real quick right there. But of course, they're still kind of coming to terms with everything that happened. And Mike just can't stop digging up graves and everything. And he's so obsessed with the tall man. And we kind of have this weird moment where this girl's being interjected in it. And that's one of the few disconnects I have with this whole movie is the blonde girl in it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, this is Tina from part 7 of Friday the 13th. And I actually had to look it up. I was just like, which movie came out first? They both came out in 1988. So I don't think either one ripped each other off,
but that is Tina from Halloween 5.
But it's just, it's such a disconnect for me, her being thrown in.
And she was thrown in too. That was another studio decision. They needed a female lead.
It was just very much shoehorned in there for me. And I wanted a road trip with my boys. I wanted more scenes of them sawing off shotguns and playing with all sorts of crazy things in a random shop that they broke into. And I do love the fact that they did not steal, okay? He broke into the cash register, and Mark's like, oh, he's really going to rob this place. Like, he's really going to rob. No, he throws down some cash.
Yeah, Reggie dropped him about $100. It was nice of him.
He dropped a little bit of money in there.
A couple of the locks they broke.
Mark asked where he got that money, and I was like, it's the insurance money.
Ice cream money.
No, it's the insurance money.
Okay, yeah, I guess
they blew up 2 houses.
Blew up 2 houses.
Blew up 2 houses and killed off 3 family members. It's insurance money. That's insurance money.
I mean, what a way to start a movie. You literally blow up 2 houses in the first 10 minutes. I had a buddy I grew up with, and he loved the fact he's just like, a movie's going to be great when they blow up 2 houses in the first 10 minutes of your movie. And the other thing I love is the same friend will always mention this. He's like, I love how Reggie literally has to come in and put 2 to 2 together. Literally put 2 and 2 together. So when he's getting ready to blow up the first house, he has to look at the oven and then look at the fire and then look at the oven again. And then the fire is like, oh, I can blow up 4 midgets by blowing up this whole house. It's absolutely awesome.
Why not take that huge shotgun? You just beat one with it. Why not beat them with the shotgun?
Because he only has one use. You'll find out. He only uses it one time after all that work. And he doesn't like the fact that he can only use it one time.
Can we also talk about how apparently Reggie's got the strongest fingerprints in the world, or finger pads in the world? Because he didn't even act like that hurt at all.
No,
He just kind of like jousted out each time.
There are definitely several times in this movie where like, wow, the guy should be a lot more injured than he is. Like, and I felt like at that point there's like, we could put blood and stuff on him, but we don't going to get that X rating again. So let's just keep filming. Let's just keep going. Like they flipped the car, they're fine. He's just got a seatbelt trapped.
They're just gonna drag him out. It's fine. It's fine. So Mark asked me this, and I had to explain to him that Reggie's the man. Okay. So Reggie gets himself a little girlfriend in this one. Of course, his wife, his family, they all blew up in the house. So Reggie is free, and Reggie is here to mingle, and he finds himself a little girlfriend. And I had to explain to Mark that he's going to find himself a little girlfriend every single movie. It's not going to stop.
Yeah, Reggie moved on awfully quick from however many family members he had in that house, and he just goes, well, Mike, we've been on the road an awful long while now, and gets pretty lonely on the road. Speaking of that, brings up one of my favorite scenes I didn't notice until just this rewatch is when it starts off with that lady Alchemy. Like Mike sees her on the bed naked. She's been, processed through funeral home means. And Mike sees her face, knows what she looks like. Then later down the line, they're driving along, going to Paragord, Oregon, or wherever they're going. And like randomly, Reggie just picks her up as a hitchhiker. Mike looks in the back. He's just like, Reggie, we need to go pee. It's like, I don't know if guys go together to pee on the side of the road. Apparently, that's a thing you did in the 80s. But I just love how Michael has to go pee, and then Reggie's the one who does the peeing, not to raise any red flags to Alchemy. So just a dumb thing I noticed this watch around.
I'm not gonna lie. This movie it has some really good kills. I know a lot of people want to talk about like some of the silly things, like Reggie getting all the girls and how certain things. See, Odin's defending this movie too. He's defending this movie too. And you want to talk about how scary the tall man is. The tall man himself, very imposing figure. I mean, he doesn't have to do a lot of the things that a lot of like the mainstay horror icons do. He's just there and he's scary.
Yeah, Angus Scrimm, he is so good. Like, I hope there isn't a studio one day that tries to remake Phantasm, because that's just like when they tried to recast Freddy Krueger. Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. He is that character. So Angus Scrimm is the tall man, and I think he has at least maybe his best line of the whole franchise in this movie, where he goes to the girl Liz, and he's just like, "You think when you die you go to heaven? You come to us." And it just throws her, flings her on the ceiling.
I still love the moment where he's like, "Boy," with that voice.
Yeah, my brother would get me with that constantly when we were kids.
That's probably one of the scariest lines out of him.
And then he also has his dumbest line at the end. He's just like, "No, it's not." It's just like there's a dead silence for like an awkward second, and the movie just ends.
So, my favorite thing out of the entire Phantasm franchise, hands down, and I gotta talk about my ball here. This is the scariest thing in horror. This is terrifying. If this is coming at you, this is terrifying.
You have that view, you're already dead.
I mean, some of them, they've got drills. They've got all these different blades that come out of them. We have probably one of the best spear deaths in this movie. It's when it goes and it burrows through a bad guy, and it keeps coming up through him and everything. And I don't know if he's still alive. I hope not. Or if that's just air leaving his vocal cords. But this guy's getting tossed around, still screaming, and you can tell it's moving all around him. And you can hear like almost like a vacuum cleaner kind of noise. And it's just like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, when your Phantasm ball makes the same sound effects as a lightsaber, you're probably screwed. I love the gold ball though. That's
yes.
So fun. It blows up the rat. It's Absolutely awesome. And then yeah, shout out to that actor like who had to sell that gold ball inside his back. Some really cool, like, I don't know if it was like a stunt man they just hired as an actor, but I really do like that scene. It's a great kill.
It's very practical too.
Absolutely.
I
That's
got a
why
lot
I
of
really
respect
like.
for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, I mean, like these going through hands, going through doors.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's nothing scarier than this thing coming at you.
And it even has like the gold ball even has like the little saws on the side.
God,
Like
yes.
it is a souped up model, that's for sure.
I know you can't really tell on this, but the image that's behind us, you can see that some of them actually have drills. I mean,
and they don't have any like way of telling who's who, so even the bad guys, most of the time it's the bad guys taking the ball anyway, as for Phantasm fights go. But yeah, they pretty much always end up killing somebody per ball. Like except in this one, it took 2 balls to take down the one guy, but hey, he still got taken down big time. He lost a hand, he got one in his back, and went through his throat. It was pretty gruesome.
yeah.
And hilarious and awesome.
It's one of those moments where it's like, oh, I shouldn't laugh, but I
Oh,
love it. I love it. I love
loved
that
every
scene.
minute of it.
I love that scene so much.
I will say this as well. I do appreciate the continuity between 1 and 2, where they still have Mikey building all these traps. Because you remember the first one, he loved to build things ever since he did that little, I'm going to take Scotch tape, a hammer, and a shotgun shell and get out of my bedroom and go find Jody. That was pretty awesome. Now he's building flamethrowers. And then the 4-barrel shotgun, like
The sawed-off
yeah.
4-barrel shotgun.
Every movie, Reggie's got to have something more hilarious than the last. But, I mean, I don't think he's really... They've tried in the other ones, but he still hasn't topped that 4-barrel shotgun with only 1 use.
So can we talk about the fight where he faces off against the guy in the gas mask?
Well, we have
and
to.
he gets his whole ammunition cut off him, right? And he uses the shotgun and everything. Well, later, but once he's done, he just doesn't go to pick up the ammunition. He just leaves it there and just gives
big
up.
Mistake. Big
He's
mistake.
like,
Pretty much he left all of his toys in that basement. Like, he came down there souped up. He had a drill. He had a chainsaw. He had the 4-barrel shotgun with 2 bandoliers. And he only killed 1 7-foot-tall chainsaw-wielding maniac and 4 midgets. He left everything in the basement. Like, that is the most irritating thing about Reggie. Sometimes he just gets in a hurry.
So his chainsaw that he's so proud of, and then this guy in the gas mask with his huge, like, the Saw is family, leather face, almost shining wielding chainsaw in comparison. And like the fight scene between those two, when they're dueling chainsaws almost, and he's got Reggie on the ground, instead of just cutting Reggie up like he should have, he stops to punch him. And he's just beating the hell out of him and wailing on him. It's like, dude, Reggie's able to rev up his chainsaw.
Yeah, that whole moment was probably like the most Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell style Evil Dead moment to me. Like that, the movie, I mean, it doesn't take itself too seriously the whole time, but there is an aura of seriousness just enough so it's not a comedy. But when you get to this scene, it definitely bypasses that. When you have Reggie bust out his chainsaw, and then here comes this tall gas mask dude wielding like a Tim Taylor Benford chainsaw, ready from Home Improvement. So like, oh man, I remember that's like my dad's favorite moment. Like my dad has 2 favorite Phantasm moments. Number 1, of course, the chainsaw fight. Number 2, I think it was in part 3 where Reggie's trapped in a police car and there's demon midgets all over the top of it. And this police car has a shotgun that's pointed up. It's like mounted in the car so they can grab it at any time. And he just fires it, but it blows a hole in the roof and then blows up the midget. But then they have to fill Reggie's mouth with that mustard blood. Yep. So it's I've never seen him laugh so hard. The mustard
blood.
Yep.
How gross is that mustard blood? Probably.
Well, especially when I don't like mustard. I hate mustard, so it's really gross to me. I'd rather just see actual blood, probably.
So I'm watching this with Mark and everything, and the entire time he's we're discussing what we should do for this, and we get to the scene, which I forgot the scene with the priest when he's so worked up over everything that's going on with all these bodies that he's pouring himself a shot of Jack Daniels. So, like I mentioned before, I've got a pinched nerve in my back, so I'm not really doing a whole heck of a lot tonight. But I asked Mark for a bottle of Jack Daniels. He comes back from our storage room with this. So This is Jack Daniels Winter Jack Tennessee Cider. I asked him what the hell this was supposed to be, and he said, we've had this since Christmas. I'm supposed to kill the bottle. This is basically just cider. None of the kick. Mark. None of the kick. BKR behind the bar.
Tall Man really did a number on Mark, huh?
Yes.
He doesn't even know what year it is. What month? Nothing.
So.
Now, going back to that priest, that was probably like my least favorite character. I probably feel similar about the priest than you felt about Liz, that character being tacked on. But at least I guess with the priest, you get to see his whole arc, and you get to see him eat a phantasm ball at the end. So at least it was kind of worth it just to have that character in. And
he tried.
He tried.
He tried.
Too late. He stabbed the dead corpse and made him a zombie somehow. That didn't work out well.
He was trying so hard to stop them from coming back.
He didn't like the wind.
Didn't work out. Wind. Oh my God, you just reminded me of one of my favorite moments in this movie. So there's the part where Liz is going to like that little area or whatever before she's run into Mike and Reggie. And she stumbles across the tall man. Tall man like throws her and everything. And then he sends one of the like little demon midgets after her, right?
Yep.
And it's her grandma.
Oh yeah.
He's just like, I was like, oh grandma. Like, just like throws her, like, sorry, grandma.
Yeah, she gets over it so quick. She's just like, oh, my bad, grandma. And she just sprints out of there. She never feels anything for her grandmother.
Doesn't tear up at all, anything. It's just like, sorry, grandma.
I don't know why, but across something did come into my head during the scene. I have no idea why, what's wrong with my head, but I just watched that scene. I'm like, man, what? I wonder if they have brochures at the funeral home. It's like, so your grandma became a demon midget. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was just like, wow, well, that would be funny to me. But I will have one nitpick of this movie compared to the first one. The first one is 1,000 times better when it comes to the original soundtrack.
Yes.
The music is somehow a lot better with random guy in the 70s composing a soundtrack than big budget Universal Studios hiring run-of-the-mill synth soundtrack. I still appreciate the soundtrack. I think it's kind of funny how it does have like those late 80s quirks that are like in every movie. There's just like, I can't even make the sound. It's just like a particular sound they had in like almost every other movie in the late 80s, especially when you see the phantasm ball pop out. But the soundtrack in the first one was so much better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you kind of have to look at it this way. The budget for the first one, being an indie film, basically being funded by this kid's parents and everything, and done on weekends and everything. And then you have this one that clearly has so much more into it. And you can tell, like, the heart's not really there.
Yeah.
As much, where the heart's clearly there for the first one. And I feel like it's a bit more for some of the later ones as well that are clearly much lower in budget, shall we say.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that when people are comparing the whole franchise. This is like, somehow it's became like the anomaly of the Phantasms because of that budget. And I think it has a lot to do with, Coscarelli moving around, going back to his original actor instead of keeping James LeGros, which I would blame him. One's like his friend, like he's known the guy since the 70s, and the other one was just an actor they hired. So you completely get that.
All right. So anything else we want to touch upon for Phantasm? Anything from the chat that we want to touch upon for Phantasm?
Oh, we do have some more people to say hi to before we keep touching upon the movie. We had Mr. Gretzky9966. How you doing? Always happy to see Gretzky in the chats. We had Flicks and Comics. I knew she would like Phantasm too. She likes the horror movies, that's for sure. We had the Great Legend popping in. Hopefully, I'm doing an okay job filling those large shoes. Hopefully, Legend will be back next week. He's taking care of some business elsewhere, some very important stuff going on. We had Comic Book 1962. What is going on, man? And then I feel like there's one other. Hopefully, I didn't forget anybody. And then Chris Barrett. We'll get in some Barrett's business here. Talking about that pee break from earlier, he says, hey, when you're in a sketchy situation, you call for a pee break so you can formulate a plan.
Oh, yeah.
And then he says, I can make so many jokes about taking 2 balls to take someone down, but won't because it's low-hanging fruit. I see what you did there with the low-hanging fruit there, bud. And then he says they're called little wrestlers and not midgets. Something about Chainsaw Charlie. And then he's talking about your storeroom that you have for all of your booze. And that's
all right. So one thing that I love about the Phantasm series as a whole, which could potentially turn some people off of this series, would have to be the endings of every single movie, where we have the almost dream-like nightmare sequence. It's your worst nightmares. You're getting attacked by the midget, the balls, the tall man's always there no matter what. And this movie does not disappoint at all with the ending. It is just as traumatizing if you care about these characters when they're just pleading with each other to wake up.
It's like the only movie franchise that doesn't disappoint by severely disappointing you at the end of the movie. It's like, it's just funny how like the movies are so fun and great to watch, and then this ending comes out and like, we gotta do something. It's just like, I don't know if Coscarelli wants to do something artsy or just like throw some sort of mind fuck in there to disorient the viewer. I don't know. I kind of bought it for the most part in the first one, except for some reason they decided, oh, Jody's dead and Reggie's alive for no reason now. Just the fact that we had to take something away from Michael. And then in this one, Reggie dies again, but doesn't die because he's right back in the next one. And then it just, the alchemy, we knew she was bad news the whole time. And she certainly was bad. Her hair fell out. It was gross. And then, luckily there was no corpse in that curse. But then the tall man breaks the window down. And he goes, nope, that wasn't real.
So how do you think the tall man got in there?
Just tall man. He probably travels via Phantasm Ball. He's pretty fast.
That's true. So I have another question, something that's never really made sense to me, and I've asked several people about this movie but I can never really truly understand it. So the spheres, the tall man, the little demonic wrestlers, Chris Barrett. What is all this? Are they aliens? Are they demons from another dimension? What do you think they are?
I mean, I definitely think it's got to be the other dimension, because at least you see the other dimension in the other two. But I guess the real question is the other dimension technically what we conceive to be hell? That's where you really, the more you think about it, the bigger of a headache it becomes. I mean, it's just I think the other, where it gets really horrific from a crazier standpoint is, you start thinking about like what happens to your body after you leave this mortal coil, and like you actually see some of the embalming techniques, and like he's sewing the guy's. It's probably like the legit scariest part of the whole movie is when you see the old guy laying on the metal bench and he's getting his mouth sewn shut, because that's what they do to dead bodies. And that is probably the most messed up thing of the whole movie, is when it starts to get you in that mind process of like, what does happen to a body once you leave it. And you're seeing that whole process, and that's what's really scary about this movie, in my opinion.
I don't like it when they've cremated that one priest, and they've just got bits of his jaw and just like ashes, and he takes that mallet and he's like just breaking it.
Tenderizer, yeah. It's like in a shoebox too. It's not even like an actual. It's just like he's smashing a shoebox full of bones.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. So yeah, whatever. Just working 9 to 5. And he gets cremated later.
Chris has an idea. The tall man has really long legs. So he can run super fast.
Oh yeah, that's true. He did have those stilted shoes in the first one that we saw in the long shot from Reggie's ice cream truck.
Freaking ice cream truck.
That is the other disappointing thing. We didn't get to see too much Reggie as an ice cream man in action.
Yeah.
They only allude to it one time where Mikey goes, it's like reality hits him all of a sudden, even though we don't know what reality really is in this movie. But anyway, it's just like Mikey goes, what are we doing here, man? He's like, I'm a 19-year-old kid. You're an ice cream man. Are we really going to go after like a funeral home full of demons?
Yes.
And then that's what it hit me. Like, this guy's supposed to be 19?
Yeah.
He's like 35.
I was like, there's no way he's 19.
The only time he looked 19 is when he was in the insane asylum and he's wearing a button-up shirt. For some reason, he had the top buttoned. Like, who does that? 19-year-old kid. I guess.
19-year-old kids don't do that.
Maybe in the 80s they did. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's acceptable in the 80s.
But yeah, I enjoy this movie. I do.
Good.
You know, before we get into the whole, like, what's going on for next week and everything, which before we get into the end of it, I did tell Carson that since both of my co-hosts are gone this week and neither one gave me a movie, I would let him pick the movie. So Carson is going to be picking the last movie before we do the audience pick. So we're
audience pick.
So
nice.
We're gonna have one more movie to stream that the hosts and everything pick, and then the next week after that. So come next Sunday and throw your votes in the chat, and we'll be picking from our chat what movie we do for the following week for Is It That Bad? But before we get on into the movie and everything for that, Carson, I know this show is called Is It That Bad? And the idea is we talk about everything good, bad, ugly, and in between. But me personally, I really enjoy the Phantasm series, and I'm very happy that you picked this movie.
Yeah, I'm glad you finally got a chance to watch it, because for the longest time, you listened to Joe Bob. You're disappointed with the Hemi-Cuda explosion.
The Hemi-Cuda!
Which I think we all were disappointed with the Hemi-Cuda explosion, because number one, the Phantasm franchise has robbed this mortal coil of so many Hemi-Cudas at this point, because the first one disappeared off the face of the earth allegedly. Someone probably just stole it and drove away because they left the keys in it because it was the 1970s. So no one knows where the first one went, so they had to buy a new one for this one. What do they do with the new one? They flip it over and they blow it up. They didn't use a stunt car. They just blew up an actual Hemi-Cuda, which these are all limited vehicles. Even back then, they were limited. God knows how limited they would be or are now if there are any left.
You can't even afford one now.
But
it's crazy.
Yeah.
You basically have a jet engine that you're sitting in.
Yeah, it's definitely like the golden goose of car collecting, I'm sure. I don't know anything about that. I'm not going to speculate on it, but I imagine it's very expensive. But yeah, the Hemi-Cuda stuff turned you off of watching this after you took Joe Bob's advice just to skip it like he did on one of his watches. But I'm glad you finally got a chance to. This is my personal favorite of the Phantasms. I still really love and enjoy 1. I don't want to take anything at all away from Phantasm 1. I think Phantasm 2 is just the most fun to watch of all the Phantasms. It's kind of like your Freddy 3 or your Halloween 2, basically. It's like the follow-up to a great previous movie, that you're not going to follow that previous movie up. It was just so well done. You may as well just go the fun route instead of go the crazy serious route. And I think that's where movies like Halloween 2 or Nightmare on Elm Street 3, or really even, Jason 6, Friday the 13th 6, they're all fun movies. They can tell at that point they're just out there. They got some budget. They're having some fun with it. They know they're going to have some viewership. But yeah, 2 is my personal favorite of the Phantasm franchise. Absolutely, it does not suck. To answer the question, is it that bad? Absolutely not. It is not bad. It's great. If you like 80s horror movies, this should be on your list to watch if you haven't already watched it like 10 or 20 times. Like, come on.
Or all of them, honestly. This is a fun marathon.
I need to rewatch 3 and 4 because I've probably only seen those like once or twice each. 5, I'll rewatch 5 one day.
We still have Reggie in it. We still have Reggie in it.
Yeah.
That's what's important. You still got Reggie.
Yeah, 5's rough. But usually I find myself watching 1 and 2 and then just going, I'm good. I'm going to move on to something else. But I definitely need to rewatch all 5 of them at some point. I definitely enjoy the whole franchise completely. I really do like the fact that it's just a director making some movie with his friends at that point. So it's always good. But what did you think? If you had to score this or compare it to something, so what is your overall take on this?
So our ranking system, we always talk about the worst out of the season. And the reigning champion, the person who picks out the worst, they hold the title of Mr. or Mrs. Sunday Night. I was Mrs. Sunday Night last year with Hogzilla, and this year I am still the current reigning champion with Ouija Shark. So if I have to compare Phantasm 2 to Ouija Shark, which is a worse movie? Ouija Shark, duh. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Those tonight instead of an actual regular, that I'd have to watch those movies.
You need to understand the level of film that we talk about on here, Carson. But Phantasm 2, is it a bad movie? No. Is it a perfect film? No. But it's a very fun movie. This is a movie I would fight for. I love having it in the marathon. It's a good watch. If you've never seen it, if you've never seen any of the Phantasm movies, I would highly suggest you go out and watch them. I mean, get the DVD collection or like the Blu-ray. I mean, you don't have to get the one with the sphere and everything, but I wanted the sphere because let's face it, I like dangerous things, and but you can. But it is what it is. Do I think this is a bad movie? No. I think this is a very fun movie. I had a lot of fun with it. And I think that's what's important. I think the worst films you could ever have would be a boring film, in my mind. Did this movie bore me? No. I had fun throughout. It kept my attention throughout. And, I mean, we all love some tall man in our lives. So, is this bad enough to usurp the throne from Ouija Shark and for Carson to take my title as Mrs. Sunday Night? I'm gonna let the chat decide that, but I'm pretty sure that title's safe.
I don't even think I want that title based on the movies I know you watch and enjoy, and the rest of the world probably wouldn't enjoy if they got a chance to watch some of these movies. I think I'm good. I'll just take the role I'm in.
I feel like occasionally I insult people just by bringing movies in here where they're like, how dare you put that in the same category as Thanksgiving? And I'm like, I'm not saying they're in the same category. They're just on the same show together. But
shout out to our Comic Corp brethren. We got Drew Manchu and Chad R in the chat, and they're talking about dead movie reviewers. So that's
okay. He's also talking about how I need to review Doctor Who, which I am working on. I'm doing my reaction videos for Doctor Who. Carson, before we get on to the rest of it and everything, how are your Harry Potter videos going?
I'm going to attempt to do one tomorrow because I have the next 7 days off to film and edit something finally.
There you go.
Hey, vacation time.
You got 8 movies to do.
Oh, God.
You got 8 movies.
It's got to be rough. Harry Potter. Yeah, I'll explain in the movies maybe. But do I get to pick? So I get to pick next Sunday's movie. Is that right?
Yes. I've decided I'm going to let you pick it just because neither of my co-hosts were able to be on this show.
I'm not going to attempt to take the title of Mrs. Sunday Night. You can keep that. I'm not going to go. I tried to find one movie that I remember actually feeling physically ill after watching, but it's not streaming, so I'm not going to bother with it. It was called Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. No, that movie sucks. I don't want to do that to my friends. So I'm going to go the route of we're going to go Shudder. This is available on Shudder streaming right now. And we're going to go back to 1980. Ooh. So in 1980, and then around the late 70s as well, there was a nice 70s boom in the Italian horror market. So I've decided to pick Lucio Fulci's City of the Living Dead. Ooh. It's the first of the 3. I believe it's called the Death Trilogy. I almost ended up picking the Beyond instead of City of the Living Dead, but I figure I'd just go ahead and start with the first one. And maybe if you guys like that, you can move on to the Beyond after that, which people consider Fulci's best movie. But I was like, you know what? I kind of personally enjoy City of the Living Dead a little bit more, so I'm going to throw that one out there and see what happens.
There you go.
Lucio Fulci's City of the Living Dead.
I did not see us going with Italian horror on this, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
We'll go with Italian horror for the. We got to go there sometime on this show.
Yes, we do. But you heard it here, folks. We've got City of the Living Dead available on Shudder. Yes, everyone on here should probably already have Shudder anyway. If they don't, check out some coupon codes because there's 1 million of them out there.
Give me a month for nothing.
Pretty much. You know. I mean, I know I have a Shudder account, so Mark and I are good. I know Legend's got a Shudder account. So if you guys have Shudder, highly suggest you go ahead and watch it with us. But if you don't, sign up for your free month and watch it. You have no excuse. It's official. So come back next Sunday night and we will be discussing Carson's pick. But of course, come back next Sunday night as well so that we can discuss and everyone in the chat can put their own nominations in for a film. Of course, we are going to be doing the chat pick or the viewer pick, so you guys can make us watch whatever. I would hope that you would go for something that's on a streaming platform or something that's readily available, just because Legend's not going to go hunting for something random if it's not available somewhere. So that would be the only real stipulation I'd throw out there. Try to make sure it's on a streaming platform somewhere. But I know one that everyone seems to want to force Mark and I to watch for some reason is Twilight. I really hope Twilight doesn't win. But, if they wanted to make us watch that, or if you wanted to make us watch, I know someone's made us try to watch the vacation movies before. If you wanted to throw one of those out there, I've seen it in the chat before, Carson. I see your face.
So far, the chat is coming up with some interesting picks for the worst horror movie. We got Mac and Me, Grown Ups, Howard the Duck. So yeah, try to come next week with some great picks for Cat Wren and The Great Legend. Yes, maybe someone in the chat will take the title of Mrs. Sunday Night. You never know around here.
There's always an option. Somebody could usurp me. 100%. But Carson, before we call it a night, any final thoughts? Did you enjoy being on the show at least?
Oh, this was great. Thank you so much for inviting me to the Sunday show. As I've been saying it all along, this is my favorite show on the Comic Core right now. Plus, I mean, I'm just glad I finally got you to watch Phantasm 2 because we've been talking about this behind the scenes for I don't even know how
Wild.
long. A while.
Very long while.
Yeah, it's a kind of a ridiculous amount of time. So I'm glad we finally made this happen.
Yeah, I think you originally brought this up during season 1, way back when.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm just like, hey, you like horror movies? Phantasm 2, watch it. You talk about the first one all the time.
Phantasm 2.
Watch the second one.
Yeah, I had fun. Thank you, Carson, for coming on. I know I kind of made you, but it's Phantasm 2. How could I not blackmail you into coming on?
Oh, absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure to be on. Thank you so much.
All right. So, guys, come on next week and vote for your favorite or your least favorite movie that you want to make us watch. Of course, Mark and Legend are going to be back next week, and we're going to be talking some good, bad movies. We're going to be talking all sorts of craziness, and that'll be our first dive into Italian horror on Is It That Bad? So, yeah, check us out next week. Also, do me a favor and check out Carson's channel, Seawood 19. Also, anything on the Comic Core, all the above. Find us on Instagram, our individual channels, all that. And until next time, I'm your host, Caitlin. Bye.
Gotta do it. Gotta do the wave.
Gotta do the
wave. My elbow.
I still have that video of all of us in Chicago doing that.
This classic. You have to do it. It's really no option.
Bye, guys.